Formula One, a sport for real men. Speed, adrenaline, fuel, danger, and death. I love the good old days of Formula One, minus the deaths, obviously. Man and machine pushed to the limits, overtakes, last second braking, rivalry, and victory. A sport which has it all, or at least it had. You had your Piquets, Jean Alesi, Nigel Mansell with his manly moustache, and even the great Michael Schumacher, and of course, the greatest F1 pilot of all time, Ayrton Senna. Nowadays, F1 cars are more like PlayStations on wheels, array for computers and electronics, right? Politics and politics, teams blocking other teams, rules for everything, even for overtaking another pilot. The days of the turbocharged, noisy monsters for men with balls of true steel was coming to an end. How to put this passion into action? Well, I don't like getting hurt, so might as well grab a game, which takes me there. Presenting Grand Prix 2 by Geoff Craymond, developed and published by Microprose for IBM PCs and compatibles in 1995. Looking at the box, we know this is the official product of the FIA Formula One Championship, so all teams, cars, tracks and pilots are licensed. We are also informed that it comes from designer Geoff Craymond, a legend in Formula One games. Looking at the back, we have our typical screenshots of the game, while it tells us that it is not a racing game. This is you in the cockpit hurling around a Grand Prix circuit at more than 200 miles per hour. It's too real, dude. Opening the box, we have a thick manual. After all, it's about driving a Formula One car, in full color with all sorts of information like cockpit controls, setting up your car, controls among others, all this with some great photos of real-life Formula One cars. We also have a technical supplement with all the circuits present in the Formula One season, where the player can take some notes on the best car setup, lap timing, and apparently visit the Damon Hill website because the internet is here. Finally, we get the game itself in a very circular, compact disc. And last but not least, we have this little note, which was apparently made in a hurry, because Grand Prix 2 is a demanding game, so you might need a DOS boot disk. Grand Prix 2 is a racing simulator which features the Formula One 1994 season, with all of the circuits, teams, drivers and cars, with the absence of course of Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, who both died in crashes during the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola in May 1st of 1994. And Grand Prix 2 starts with me making things right and changing Damon Hill's car to Ayrton Senna, even before the intro. After a rockstar intro, which no one cares, we're greeted with a menu. Not the main menu with main options, no, the first menu with two options. Quick Race, which as the name suggests, puts you in a quick race. You just choose the track and that's it, you're behind the racing wheel, no questions asked. Or you can access the main menu for all those sweet main options. Clicking on main menu sends you there, and holy crap, look at those photos at the background. I remember my mind being blown with the quality of those images in super VGA quality. I went through all the menu sections and subsections just to see all the images, dude. At the main menu we can enter the drive menu, yep, another submenu, load a game or a replay, choose a driver, choose the control method, go through all the options, or we can exit the game. The options menu provides options like set up a printer, we'll get to that later, graphics detail level, and sound, among others. At the drive menu we can go on a quick race, because again, do a practice session, a non-championship race, go on a championship season, and set up the driving options. All pretty much self-explanatory. So let us dive into the F1 season. The first track you'll encounter is the Interlagos course in Brazil. The designers have paid attention to every possible detail and have ensured that each one is represented on the screen. The result is quite simply the most graphically pleasing racing game I've seen until that day. But as expected, the astonishingly real graphics do come at a price. Simply put, the game needs every bit of system resources your PC can master. Get yourself ready for a F1 weekend with practice sessions, qualifications, warm-up, and the long-awaited race. A good thing is that these steps can be skipped. The player can choose in which sessions to participate or just start the race from dead last. The player can control his car using either the keyboard or a joystick. The car's reaction to the commands via the keyboard are quite quick. Of course, for the most realistic driving effect, game players might want to go out and get themselves a steering wheel controller. The first-time player will likely want to race at least the first few sessions with all the driving aids on. Driving aids include automatic brakes, gears, self-correcting spins, an indestructible car, ideal line which shows the fastest route around the track, suggested gear and throttle help. The first driving aid I advise to remove is the indestructible car, because damage makes it fun. After all, what fun is a F1 racing if there's no danger of breaking your car? As you progress and feel more comfortable with the tracks and how the car handles, you will be able to remove all the driving aids to finally experience everything that must go through an F1 driver's mind during a race. The race itself can be viewed from a variety of camera angles, much like you'd seen on TV. For the game player, however, the overhead car view or preferably the cockpit view will most likely be used. The extra camera angles come into play whenever you want to have a look at an instant replay or just want to observe the other players as they circle the track. I remember the times I just sit on my chair watching a Grand Prix rollout just like in television. Watching the cars move towards the camera and away from it while the sound coming from the engine fades away. Helping to this matter are the 3D texture mapping and Super VGA graphics, as well as an early 3D physics engine. A large community of Grand Prix 2 enthusiasts formed following the game's release. Grand Prix 2 is recognized as one of the definitive racing simulations of its era. Those familiar with the first Grand Prix game will be pleased with the enhancements made to the car's handling characteristics and the options added for car editing. As you would expect in a Formula 1 race, your car will tilt when you roll over the rumble strips, bounce if you roll into the gravel runoff area, and even become airborne if you're unfortunate enough to touch wheels with another driver. Very much like the first game, you are able to make modifications to your car settings, but Grand Prix 2 offers 3 levels of additional variables for you to fool within hopes of speeding up your car. Unlike the first game, however, these modifications actually do make a difference. But perhaps the most important aspect of the game is its sense of speed. The Monaco Grand Prix is simply exhilarating, and the fact that there is no pop-up is nothing short of outstanding. The vehicles in this game pound out some horses, and in doing so, shred some serious rubber in the process. You can actually reach speeds in excess of 195 miles per hour. Despite that sense of speed, I have to give a very special note to the multiplayer options. Grand Prix 2 makes that possibility with the use of 3 modes. The first, which fans of the first game will immediately recognize, it lets multiple players use the same machine by alternating which car is being human controlled. The second option is to use a modem and play head-to-head. The third option is a direct serial port connection through a null modem. Use of these options provides the gamer with a real sense of competition. I clearly remember playing Grand Prix at my cousin's house in an IBM PC, and sometimes we were more than 6 locked in the bedroom, taking turns driving our F1 car, getting into fights for crashing someone else's car, taking the car just close enough to another and let the AI do the overtake. It was just awesome. At the end of each race, printing results, times and best laps, and looking at all that data like professionals. We were like an F1 team in their box. Grand Prix 2 has become a very special game for me. Not only brings me back to better times, but it portrays the 1994 season, the last with Ayrton Senna. I clearly remember May 1st of 1994. My parents and we were having lunch, and the TV was, as usual, broadcasting the F1 Grand Prix. Out of nowhere, it happened. Senna crashed his Williams and just stood there. We stopped eating and just stared at the TV screen. Something wasn't right. The thing that I remember the most, which I can feel until this day, was the silence. It was weird. It seemed like everything stopped. No cars outside, no people talking, nothing. It felt like everyone was just silent. My childhood F1 hero was dead. I'm forever proud that the first Formula One race he won was in my country. The Portugal Grand Prix in Estoril, Grand Prix 2 allowed me to bring him back and enjoy a brilliant game which was ahead of its time in the virtual hands of Ayrton Senna. As always, thank you for watching this, and until my next video, take care.